Hey guys, my name's Beyond Awesome Unicorn, and this is the Jasmine Dragon. Today we're going to be going over Cockatrice, what it is, how to install it, and how to use it. Cockatrice is a free program that you can play Magic the Gathering with your friends online. It is similar to Xmage, another free open source program to play Magic the Gathering with, or even Untap, which is a web-based program. Much like Untap, on Cockatrice you have to do everything manually. Alrighty, well let's go ahead and start the tutorial. Right here, if you have Windows, Mac, or Ubuntu, I have a Windows computer, so I'm going to be downloading the Windows install file. I've already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my downloads to show you how to use it. I'm going to go ahead and double click and install. Alrighty, so fairly simple install stuff, applications. Alrighty. The install is fairly short and fast. There you go. Once you're done, it loads all in. I went ahead and kept my settings from before. So whenever you first download, you're going to have to update your cards. So this should pop up. You click this, you download this file, and it saves to the default path. Unless you want to save it to another location on your computer, it just has all the images and cards that you can use in the program. So click next. It'll tell you that you saved. This is the token sources, so this is going to be all the tokens available in the program. Do the same thing, save to the default path, and there you go. Then all of this will pop up, whereas before you wouldn't have any cards here. Sorry, I was reading this message. This is just telling me that I do not have Modern Masters 3 enabled, which it came out after or before I did this video and after I updated my database last. So we're gonna go ahead and click to this view where you can check any sets you want enabled or disabled for cards. I have the Masterpiece from Kaladesh and the Zendikar Expeditions as not enabled. So whenever people play these cards, it uses the latest printing to show the image. And these arts I'm not really used to, so whenever people were playing these cards, I didn't know exactly what they were playing. So I went ahead and took those out. You can do this with any set you want, but I just chose those two. And then you can click OK and it updates successfully. Alrighty, so next we're going to register to a server. So you click down here to register for a server. Here I've already registered to a server. So there's my player name. You can't see my password, but you're going to have to get your host and port name. So if you go back to Cockatrice's website, right here it has a list of public servers. So we click on that, and here are 4 public servers. The Wuggerworks server is the biggest server. It's going to have the most users online. Sorry. So you get the host name and port. That's all you need, and then you plug that in to the host and port, obviously. You fill out all the rest of the information. You can identify with a country if you want. You can always change this later, so not a big deal. Your email is only going to be used for password resetting, so don't worry about it getting out anywhere else. Alrighty, so once you do that, you'll be sent an email with a registration, not a registration link, a activate link, which you click that, it'll tell you that you've activated and that you can log in. So after that, you come down here, click connect, and you'll have to use your host, which it's been so long since I've since I've registered, it might automatically log you in the first time, but if you ever get logged out and need to log back in, you'll have to accept the login, or go activate the click the activation link from the email. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and connect. You can also just Control L, which will pop that up. So now we're on the server. Tells us which room we're in. So here are the games. Here's the chat. Here's all the users that are online right now. Here are all the games. I currently have a filter to only filter modern. So if you don't have that, you're going to see all the games for all the different formats that they have. Right here, you can filter your games. So right here, you can filter by game description, creator, maximum players inside, the game type, or you can show unavailable games, which you can join as a spectator. So if we click that, more games are going to be added. So this is defaulted off, which I guess is a good thing, but if you're trying to join in, watch your friends play, and you can't find their game, that's going to be why. So you're going to want to go and filter that game, go to filter games to add that in. So we're going to clear our filters back out. Alrighty, so here we have the deck editor, which is going to be the default view. You can get to your settings of it right here. You have a couple different options. You can create a new deck if you are working on one. You can load a deck, which I have a few, mostly modern. And you can save your deck, save as if you want to export it as a text file instead. You can load a deck from a clipboard, which most of the time whenever I create a new deck, this is how I import it. Or you can save your deck to a clipboard to export it, send it in a message to someone, load it onto a different website. You can also analyze your deck for deck stats or tapped out, and then directly from those websites save to your account, which is really cool. Alrighty, so like I said, most of the time I'm using the load deck from clipboard, which I recommend using this setting. We'll go ahead and give you an example of that. So we'll go and go to tapped out. We'll just select the first deck we see, and from here we can just highlight everything, copy, go to here, load deck from clipboard. We see everything's in here. We have the sideboard at the end, which if these instances were put after the keyword sideboard, then they would also be put in the sideboard instead of the main board, which changing that over isn't really a problem. It's super easy if you happen to do that and don't want to change it before loading. So we're going to go ahead and click OK, and over here we have our whole deck with the sideboard loaded in. Super fast, super easy. This is the way I recommend you doing it. But if you don't want to do it that way, or if you want to make changes to a deck, you can click over here, and we're just going to go ahead and search Ambush Viper, if I can spell. Oh gosh. Ambush Viper, and you can click enter to add it over. You can double click it to enter to add it over, and over here you can click the plus and minus button to add or subtract from your deck. So that's how you get things there. If you wanted to add it directly to your sideboard, you hit Control Enter, and that adds it directly over. You can also double click while on any side, and it automatically switches to the other. So that's the easy way to make a deck. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and come over here, and we're going to create a game. So we're going to not have a description because it doesn't really matter. We're going to go down to one player, that way I can show y'all everything. We're not going to remember these settings, and we're not going to allow spectators to watch right now. You can also have it password protected and have it where only your buddies can join. So under here, you can, over on the right, you can click and add to buddy list. This allows you to have just your friends or people that you meet on here that you like playing with and whatnot, to just have them play with you instead of total strangers that might be playing decks that you don't want to play against, or or it might just be really slow players or anything that you don't want to play with, and you just know that, oh, my friend's online, I want to play with him, I'll send him a message, make the game, and I don't want to feel like having a password, then there you go. So we're going to go back. Since we didn't have it remember our settings, then all of our changes came back that we previously had. So we're going to not remember settings, not spectate watch, go down to 1 player, and it doesn't matter what format we choose. I'm going to go ahead and choose modern since that's what most of my decks are, and we're going to click OK. So here we are in this view. So first thing you're going to need to do is load a deck, which is going to open to your default decks file location. So we're just going to go ahead and click a really ridiculous deck that I love to play, Seismic Hunt. It's my version of Zombie Hunt, where I treasure hunt for seismic assaults. I also have Mystic Retrieval as backup in case we need to cast a treasure hunt. We've gotten Thought Seized, anything like that. If we have Mystic Retrieval, we get to 4 mana, then we get to cast it, or if they make us discard 2 cards, then we're gonna be able to put this in our graveyard to flashback for 3. So we're gonna go ahead and click ready to start. If you're playing with multiple people, then you'll have to wait till both of y'all are ready to start. So you can see right now that my view is being cut off. Control F does your full screen mode and will set to your different screen or different size screens. So going back and forth changes that. Over here in the comment section or chat section, it's also the game log. You're going to be able to do things. So typically whenever you enter a game, I say hello. You don't have to, not everybody does. Even whenever you do say hello, sometimes they won't respond. Some people are just serious like that. It's crazy talk, right? But one of the main things that everybody does to begin with is Control I, which rolls a dice, 20-sided die to roll. Whoever gets the high roll gets the play, or I say gets to choose. And so some keywords or shortcuts that you'll see is IP for I'll play, or some people will type out you can play. And then we draw our first hand, which is Control M. And if we don't like this, then we can mulligan by continuing to press Control M to mulligan down. So we have our treasure hunt, so we're going to keep. And so now we press keep, KP. And then if you want to scry, the shortcut for that is Control W. And then you can click how many you want to view. So we only need to view 1. So we're going to Nephalia Academy. That's actually not bad, just in case we get hit by a discard. So now we go ahead and play. Since we're on the play, obviously nobody else is playing against us, we're gonna play Rootbound Crag tapped. And to add counters, you can set counters right here. We're gonna set our red counters to 2, and they're there. We can also add, remove counters. Depending on your version, these are all either going to be add red, add yellow, add green, remove red, remove yellow, remove green, set red, set yellow, set green, or be a drop-down menu like the rest. So now we're going to untap, which is Control U, and draw, which is Control D. Also to note, on the side over here is our phases. So if you want to show your opponent where you're at, some people like to just stay and untap and do things and then move to combat whenever they're in combat. That's typically what I do. I don't really go through every phase. If you want to do that, you can make sure that you're going through each phase, letting your opponent know where you're at, start combat, declare attackers, especially if you have triggers or anything that you want to show. And most of the time, whenever you put to end phase, that means you're done with your turn, unless you tell your opponent, hey, I have abilities that I want to activate, wait until I'm done. Or if you just go ahead and activate them, they'll know. But most of the time, you'll go to end phase, and then your opponent will click pass turn, and then that's them recognizing that it's no longer your turn, and that's you recognizing that it's no longer your turn and that now they get to go. So we untapped, we drew, we're going to play our second land, which we'll go ahead and play Reliquary Tower since we know our opponent. Casper doesn't have any discard spells, so we're going to go ahead and cast our Treasure Hunt. So there's not a great way of doing this kind of ability. You only have these 3 zones, which this is the stack, spells that you're casting, this is the battlefield, and this is the land area. This is also your exile and your graveyard. So most of the time with this deck, I'm going to be going over here because I'm not using this area. So we're going to reveal cards from the top of our library until we reveal a non-land card. Well, there you go. Seismic Assault. All these go into our hand. You saw that you can highlight multiple cards. I also did that whenever I tapped my lands. If you have multiple things out on the field and they're in different areas, and say I want to not select this Reliquary Tower, but I want to select this Nephalia, this City of Brass, and this Reliquary Tower. All you have to do is press Control, just like selecting multiple files inside of Windows Explorer or any other program. Then you move this to the graveyard and pass turn. One thing I forgot to note over here is our sort of mana areas. So white adds, the top one is white, you left click to add, right click to remove, all the way down. So orange is usually Storm, everything else is X, G, R, B, U, and W. Also with life, to subtract life, you right click, and to add life, you left click. You can also change this if your opponent's swinging with 5 damage, you have nothing to block with, you can press Control L, it pops up a life, and we're taking 15 damage from our opponent, or 5 damage from our opponent, putting us down to 15, so you put your new life total in. There's not a great way of doing like, oh, I'm gaining 10 life, oh, I'm gaining 7 life. You have to do the math, or you can just click it 7 times. Alrighty, well, that's the gist of Cockatrice. There's a few more things that I want to go over. Revealing your hand to your opponent. If you right click over here in the green area while you don't have 16 cards in your hand, it's a lot easier. You can reveal your hand to all players, or there'll be a line under here that has your opponent's name, to where you can reveal to your opponents. You can reveal a random card to your opponent or to yourself. You can take your mulligan, or you can move your entire hand to different areas of the game. If you wanted to shuffle your deck, Control S, or you can play with your top card revealed. Also, you can go under Cockatrice down to your settings and come over here to shortcuts and set your different shortcut keys. So right now we're in our game, so this is our main window in deck editor. This is our phases and play area. So to change your game phase, you do these. Oh, power and toughness, this is a good one. To set your power and toughness, the shortcut key is Control P, but if you wanted to put a +1/+1 counter or a -1/-1 counter on a creature, or it gets +1/+0 for whatever, you do Control plus or Alt plus or minus, depending on what you need to do. Here are your shortcut keys for creating tokens and untapping and attaching cards, and if you wanted to do more things. Cloning is typically how you create more tokens. I'll go over that in a second. To draw a certain amount of cards, you press Control E, and then it'll pop up a little window that asks you how many you want to draw. Control Shift D undoes your draw, which this one I didn't know until recently, which is really helpful, especially if you draw and your opponent makes an effect. that wouldn't make you draw that card, then you can undo that draw, or if you draw too many, then you can undraw. And then the rest of these aren't really that important. F3 is super important. You're going to be using this a lot whenever you search your library. This is what you're going to use, F3. Your library will pop up, and immediately when you stop viewing your library, your deck will shuffle, which is probably the only automated thing about Cockatrice. You can also view your sideboard. One last thing is Control R removes your arrows, so that's going to be really helpful. I'll show you how to use that here in a sec. So using the arrows, you can point at things just to show your opponent, like, oh, I'm blocking Vivid Crag with Reliquary Tower. Oh, Reliquary's ability triggered, you take damage, I gain life, so I'm going to point to show you that. So Control R removes those arrows. Also, changing phases removes those arrows. Also, the Control Alt you can do at the same time. So if I'm getting +1/+1 counters on all of my creatures, you can do that. Although for some reason it's only doing that. There we go. Control Alt +++, giving all my creatures 3 +1/+1 counters. You can also set your counters to 3 among all of your permanents by highlighting. And if you go back to the shortcut, you can set your add counters and remove counters of the colors shortcuts. So let's go ahead and look at what F3 does. F3 searches your library. You'll view, it'll sort by type and then name. If you undo that, it just sorts by name. If you undo that, it sorts by order. So that's how you view that. And then when you exit it, like I said, it automatically shuffles. You can look down here in the log at what's happening. Alrighty, next I'll show you how to attach a card. So if you right click, you can attach to card. So we attach here and it automatically pops behind. We can still move it. We can't move it away to other areas because it's attached to this card. So we can move this card around and that makes it attached. Then we can unattach from that card to make it move back away. Also, by default, your lands will automatically stack on top of the same one by double clicking, and by default all your spells will automatically go over here to the stack when double clicked. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and create a token. So here is the create a token menu. I don't use this anymore. There is another way to create a token, which I'll load a different deck and put a card out to show you how to use the other feature. But here you type your name. So let's say we want to make a mirror. We type mirror, we click OK. We can only make one at a time in this manner. But once you create the first one, you can just press the shortcut Control J to keep making more and more and more and more and more. And then yeah, so that's how you make tokens. And when you move them to any zone, they'll automatically go wherever your hand is. Alrighty, so here we have a Genesis Chamber, which any card that creates a token, if you right click it, it has a little token button where you can create the token. If it creates more than one type of token, then you can select whichever one you want. So we're going to go ahead and create our mirror this way. You can also create it by doing the shortcut, obviously, the Control Shift T by default to create your tokens. So that's the two ways of creating tokens. That's how to use Cockatrice. Thank you to everyone who stayed watching the video this long. Remember to share and do all the other YouTube stuff, and look forward to more content coming soon.